All right. Let's see here. Send this link out. Not used to doing this alone. All right, let's see. There we are. All right, if anybody joins, speak up. All right. Who we got? Who's in here? Say your piece. All right, if you join, go ahead and make yourself known in the chat. Get some conversation going. It's just me tonight. You know what I mean? It's tough doing this alone. You know, I'm used to having the good doctor and Whiskey Gary here with me on the gravy cake train, the bearded trio. Tonight you got the, there we go. All right, what's up, Mass Fan? Brian, what you doing, man? Hey, Brian, dude, your artwork looks fantastic, man. Loved going and giving you a follow, giving you a shout out. Man, anybody that's doing artwork, any kind of content creation around wrestling, elevating the brand, elevating the sport, especially the National Wrestling Alliance. You got my love. You got my love. Yeah, dude, surprise live show, man. Listen, I'll be honest. So it's a long day, busy day. It takes a lot to film an episode, edit it. Masked Fan, you know what it's like, man. You're a filmmaker yourself, to put one of these together, to try to do it every day. So you know, I still got stuff to say, even though I don't have time to you know, put together a show, edit it, add music, all that stuff, add a bunch of quick cuts. Dave Scooby, greetings, sir. Thank you guys for coming to hang out, talk a little wrestling on a Thursday night. It's Thursday night, right? It's Thursday night, yeah. So yeah, so that's my sob story. Busy day. You know, I didn't do a lot of these. I think I did like one show last week just because things got so busy. But you know, trying out this live thing, and if this is a thing that works, and we get a few people that want to jump in here and talk about whatever's going on in the world of wrestling every night, maybe we do a couple of live shows a week. Who knows, man? It is 10 o'clock. We should probably all be asleep. You know, I'm kind of a morning person, so I like to go to bed a little early. So this is a little late for me, but Gary and the good doctor have gotten me used to staying up late talking about wrestling here lately during this quarantine. So I don't mind it if you guys are good with it. But cool, man. What's up, dude? Welcome. So we got a few people in here, and like I said, if you are in the chat and you are watching live, go ahead and throw a what's up in the chat so we know you're here, and we'll have a little discussion. And if you guys have any thoughts about anything that's happened today, past week in the world of wrestling, bring it up. I'll respond to it. We can get a conversation going. Oh, the night is young. The good doctor. It is. We're not all on the Army Ranger sleep schedule that you're on, bud. Yeah, that'd be nice though. It'd be cool. I was telling my wife about it and she was intrigued. Could probably get a lot more done, right? Just sleeping 3 hours here and there. Anyway, so yeah, man, hope you guys are doing well. Hope you've had a great day, a great week. It's been crazy. The times are crazy. Social media is a crazy place. Really in the last like 2 to 3 weeks, it's gone from, being primarily for me about, fun, lighthearted wrestling discussion to a lot of really serious stuff. And, I'm not blind to that. Um, so it's just, I think it's important that we all gather like this and just talk about what we love, pro wrestling. Um, so primarily what I want to talk about tonight is some things surrounding WWE and some of this contract stuff that's going on. And if you know about it, you can go ahead and throw your thoughts in the chat. And this might be like, a borderline kind of rant. And if you guys watch my show, I am pretty attuned to what's going on in the WWE. Yes, I keep up with it. I don't actually watch it because our time is limited and there's a lot of WWE programming on. And if I watched all of it, I probably wouldn't have time to do these shows, which are way more important to me. But as a fan of wrestling and a fan of wrestling culture, and I was a fan of WWE for a lot of years, I listen to podcasts and I read the news. And, I have opinions about it. And that's the beauty of the internet. You can come on here and give your opinion, just like you guys can hop in the chat and give your opinion. So if you're unaware of what's going on, so as you know, a month or so ago, about 30 WWE superstars were released. Day called Black Wednesday. It felt like an episode of Dark Side of the Ring in the making, to be honest. Where WWE just cut all this kind of unused talent loose, and it was tough. I mean, there's a lot of fan favorites, a lot of people that have been wasted in WWE that could really flourish somewhere else. So, in some ways it could be a blessing in the long run, but it still sucks that 30 people who put their bodies on the line to entertain us and to serve this company and make this company millions of dollars, just got the axe. And so something happened over the past couple of days. And so this was the first thing that raised my eyebrows was apparently, and I don't know if this was yesterday or 2 days ago, but Brian Alvarez, Wrestling Observer Live, he reported that WWE is turning around and they're offering renewed contracts to some of the released superstars. So like new contracts. Here's the catch though, is that they were like a fraction of what those superstars were making before. And Brian Alvarez didn't give any numbers, but he did say of the numbers that he knew about, he was pretty sure they were insulted and will probably never work for the company again and will probably go, to Impact. Impact's been teasing at Slammiversary, the possible return of some of this released talent to Impact or somewhere else. And so that was the first thing that happened. And, that raised my eyebrows. That got me a little bit sad because I'm like, man, insult to injury almost to turn around and say, hey, you can come back and but we're going to give you like pennies on the dollar of what we gave you before. It's kind of insulting. I would be insulted. Fortunately, I've never had to go through anything like that. But so that happened. And it seems like they're almost trying to right some wrongs because I think they took the temperature of the room after it happened and they realized that a lot of people are upset and a lot of people, love these guys. Mass Fan says NXT guys make 30 to 40,000 a year. I mean, yeah. And then imagine, losing that. And then they say, yeah, you can come back for 15K a year. It's a little insulting. They got to make a living wage, and that's not all of them. I'm sure some of the main roster guys were making more than that, but still to reach that level in the professional wrestling world and then to have that happen, it's just kind of insulting. So that happened. And then the second thing that really got me, and I've ranted about this on the show before, but is this whole storyline with Drake Maverick. So if you know about that, there's a delay. So go ahead and throw your comments in the chat as I'm speaking, so we can get a conversation going. I can react to them. But Drake Maverick, he was part of the 30 superstars that were released. And the day that happened, he released a video on Twitter. He was crying, basically saying, he gave all of himself to this company. I teared up. I mean, if you guys watched it, let me know what your reaction was to it. But I teared up. I was like, man, this is a genuine guy who, just wanted to make it. And he got cut loose, and so that happened. That kind of went viral. There was a big fan reaction. One of the things he said in that video was that he was still going to be part of the interim cruiserweight tournament that was going on in NXT. Cruiserweight's apparently part of NXT now. Who knows? I can't keep up with all that. So he had a couple more matches. And so what happened is kind of organically, he became like this underdog character because you knew he had been released, but he still had these matches, and he vowed, he was going to leave it all in the ring, and those remaining matches, he was going to give it all he had. And he did, man. He came out and he showed out, and, has been a fan favorite, and a lot of people are supporting him in big part because of that video that he put out, because our hearts go out to him. Our hearts go out to everyone who's lost their job or been furloughed or have taken pay cuts. Like, anyone whose financial situation and livelihood has been threatened by this pandemic. And so, yeah, that kind of organically and naturally happened. So last night on NXT, it was the interim. Well, they stopped calling it interim. They're just calling it cruiserweight tournament finals. It was Drake Maverick was in the match, and I don't even remember who was going against, a masked guy, Phantasma or something like that. If you know, throw it in the chat. But he lost the match, didn't win the cruiserweight title. His opponent did. And this is from Wrestling Inc. I'm going to read their recap of it. After the match, Drake received a show of respect and chants from the trainees sitting in the crowd as fans. This was to be his last WWE appearance after he was released back on April 15th as part of the company-wide budget cuts brought on by COVID-19. WWE allowed Drake to work the tournament as it had announced already, but there were rumors this week of Drake re-signing with the company. So after the match, Triple H meets Drake on the stage as he's waving goodbye. The chants, the crowd's going, they're giving him a heartfelt response. And he shook his hand and he handed him a contract, an NXT contract. Drake opened the folder, he signed the contract, and he raised it in the air as NXT went off the air on USA Network. So WWE is not, this isn't the first time they've used, real life situations in a wrestling storyline. The problem with this, I have a lot of problems with this. I'm going to list them all out. But the problem with this is that real people have lost their jobs. Real people. Rusev, Zack Ryder, Heath Slater, Heath Miller, Gallows and Anderson. It's just a few, but there was 30 total. And so real people have lost their job. They've lost their income. Their family is in jeopardy because of this. And we don't know the whole backstory here. We do have a little bit of information. Sean Ross Sapp reported there was a media call with Triple H today. Triple H said, this is a tweet from Sean Ross Sapp, said, Triple H tells me that difficult decisions were made and Drake Maverick opted to continue in the tournament. Says Drake is one of the most passionate guys in wrestling and puts him over big time. He wasn't involved in anything when the releases happened, but he captured the hearts in NXT. Triple H tells me that they chose to embrace the story that was already out there instead of ignoring it, and is glad that they could make it work with Maverick. I get it, right? It's an underdog story. It's a classic wrestling story. This is nothing new. You know, Stinson, the wrestling historian in the chat, can probably tell us story after story of underdogs over time and all that stuff. But again, real people have lost their jobs. Like not just wrestlers either, like real people in the world have lost their jobs. And while it is kind of a heartwarming story, when you look at it from the business side, it's really kind of disgusting because there's two scenarios here. Either this whole thing was a work, which is disgusting because that means that Drake Maverick was never really released, but he made that video. I don't think that's what actually happened. These are all the options. The other option is that he really was released. The video that he made was heartfelt. He was wearing a WWE t-shirt in the video. That doesn't mean anything, but and then WWE basically looked and saw the response he was getting and they backpedaled. And you can look at that and you can say, well, that's business, right? They saw a demand and they snatched him back up. Well, the problem with that is that then they took it and made it into a storyline. If they wanted to come out and say, hey, we saw the response he got and he's over and we want to bring him back, that's great. That's one thing. But they made it into a storyline. They kept this storyline going, and Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com did confirm that Drake, the contract was not a surprise. Drake had already re-signed. Did he re-sign for fraction, pennies on the dollar of what he was making before? We don't know. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad he's got a job. I'm glad that he's not unemployed anymore. He's a hard worker. He's a great performer. I like Drake Maverick, Rockstar Spud, whatever you want to call him. But it just doesn't sit well with me. I don't know how it sits with you guys. Let me look in the chat. Oh, you love the serious tone. Thanks. We can't always be comedyists around here. Sometimes we got to get serious, especially late at night with Whiskey Gary not here. I don't know. He's not in the chat, man. He's not even taking part. Mass Fan says what's crazy is that Impact just promoted him a few days ago on WWE. So, yeah, I saw that. That ad. They actually promoted a lot of guys. EC3, Rockstar Spud. There was actually a shot in that Slammiversary promo of the Bulgarian flag. Little Rusev, tip of the hat. So they got somebody. We don't know who, but they've got somebody that was like, from WWE. We know Deonna Purrazzo is there, but everybody already knows that. So that's not the shocker. Let's see. I think he got over when he got let go because of the video. Yep. And kept winning more. Fans wanted him back. Yeah. I mean, that's what I think too, honestly. But again, here's where it all comes to a point for me. The first thing that doesn't sit well with me is the fact that I don't think WWE needed to let those 30 wrestlers go. A month before that happened, they released a statement, unless this was they were just blowing smoke up our asses. They released a statement about their financials amidst the COVID stuff. And they said WWE has substantial financial resources, both available cash and debt capacity, which currently total more than $500 million to manage the challenges ahead. The fundamentals of the company's business remain strong, reflecting the passion of WWE's fans and the quality of its content. Management continues to believe the company is well positioned to take full advantage of the changing media landscape and increasing the value of live sports right over the long term. So that's what WWE said a month before they fired 30 people. And I don't know the exact numbers, but I've heard from various sources that the total amount of income saved from firing those 30 people is only like $700K a month, which is a lot to me, right? But you're talking about a company that's claiming they got $500 million in savings, and to get them through stuff like this. So real people lost their jobs. I don't really fully believe that it had to happen. And then they took this situation and they made it into a storyline where at the end of the day, Triple H got to walk out and hand a contract to a guy, and Triple H got to be the hero. You follow? That's why it doesn't sit well with me. And I'm not the only one. Leo Rush tweeted today. He weighed in on it. He said, man, are they going to hire everyone back then? He said, kind of a slap in the face to use this as a shoot work. But I guess I'm not surprised. Super happy for anyone getting their job back. But damn, real trauma and a lot of others were a part of this. So Leo Rush was one of the guys, that was let go too. And he weighed in on it. Yeah, it says it reminded me of the Daniel Bryan incident from a few years back. In that case, the WWE had to punish him, but they needed to shed payroll. Yeah, I mean, I'm just not convinced that they needed to shed payroll right now. I'm not convinced, again, unless that statement that they made in March was total BS, then, there was no reason to fire 30 people. 30 people that they've been hanging on to. And this is the thing too that doesn't sit well. 30 people they've been hanging on to and not using because they probably didn't want them to get snatched up by the competition, like AEW, Impact, Ring of Honor, NWA, because I believe that they see NWA as legit competition. But, I think they were hoarding talent. And I think that they saw this as an opportunity to clean house and do it in the name of being frugal with their money and look good for the stockholders. And again, I get it. Business is business, I know, but this is a very public business. This is a business with a lot of fans. This is a business with a lot of loyal fans. And when you don't treat your employees right, it'd be different if this was the only report. I mean, if you watch the daily shows I put out, almost every day there's a new report. There was a report that people were hiding in their cars, during WWE tapings at the Performance Center because they were scared of Vince. There was reports that all the stuff that's happened with Sami Zayn getting stripped of his IC title, stuff like that. I mean, it's a mess, man. Dave Scooby says Zack Ryder got over with the Internet Championship years ago, and WWE did very little with it storyline wise. Wonder where he and Hawkins will end up. I don't know, man. A lot of the initial speculation was that Zack Ryder would end up in AEW. Could happen. He's connected with those guys, Cody and all them. But I don't know. I mean, and that's the thing too. I mean, if that's how they do business, he should have been super over back then. They should have pushed him. And the sad thing is, I don't even have faith in them to push Drake Maverick. They didn't let him win the title. So, they're probably going to sign him back in. He's going to go right back to where he was, and we're not going to see him. And I don't know. He might have a few matches now because it's a big storyline, but I think he'll get shuffled back to the end of the line again. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Let's see. Vince needed to show that the WWE was more profitable than it was. Yeah. He had to answer to stockholders. True. They weren't happy with the WWE network numbers and the way they cannibalized their pay-per-view numbers. Yeah, man, all legit, dude. I get that, man. AEW can't sign everyone. True, they can't, especially right now. And that's the point I was getting at. Was it if you're gonna release a bunch of people and without fear that the competition's gonna snatch them all up, now's the time to do it, man. Because except for AEW, nobody else is wrestling, really. I mean, Impact's doing tapings, but NWA, we're not going. I don't think they're going to sign anyone up for Carneyland, new talent. So yeah, let's see what my beautiful wife says. She said that should not be allowed. They should not be allowed to do that. Hoarding talent, that's BS. I agree. You're beautiful and smart. And that's why I love you. And that's why I married you. Yeah, get your job back with less pay when later they may end up making more than they were before. And that's the thing. That was what Brian Alvarez said when he said he was looking at some of the numbers. He was saying, I would be shocked if these guys resign. It's insult. They can make plenty more on the indie circuit, which that's sad, because it's tough to make it on the indie circuit financially. See, Cool Man says, I heard Hawkins was in the Impact pay-per-view commercial with the other people. Maybe he was. I don't remember specifically. I know like I said, the Bulgarian flag was in there. I know that Rockstar Spud, Drake Maverick, was in there. And I think they even had footage of Gallows and Anderson, even though they've never been a part of Impact. So I don't know where they got that. But yeah, man. But yeah, so that's kind of what's gotten me got my gears grounded tonight. I just, long live the NWA. That's the moral of the story. A company that cares about their talent from all appearances, and from what I know about the ownership and things like that. I mean, they're not blowing smoke, and they're not you know I mean, they're not made of money, obviously, so they're not going to snatch up everyone. But I was thinking about it today, and I am really proud. It seems like that the NWA has made a name for themselves without having to poach or snatch up any unwanted WWE talent, which almost feels like that's not almost. I mean, AEW kind of did stake their reputation on Cody and Jericho, obviously, and then Moxley coming in on their first pay-per-view, that first Double or Nothing. So NWA, man, what we've got going on is organic. It's real. It's grassroots. It's guys that know who they are, guys that are in control of their own gimmicks, guys that can put themselves over. They don't need somebody else to write a storyline for them or script a promo. And they can all give promos. That, like, since I've become an NWA fan, the number one thing that I've realized is the fact that you shouldn't be. Now, there are exceptions. I'm not going to say absolute. I don't like hyperbole. But in professional wrestling, you should be able to perform at a high level in the ring, and then you should be able to walk outside that ring and cut a promo that either inspires or gives people shivers, And I feel like the NWA, the talent in the NWA, they can do that. They understand that and they appreciate it. I don't think they're strangled by scripting and things like that. But when I look at, guys that have to have a mouthpiece in WWE, AEW, guys that don't reach a high level because they might be big, strong, and can perform really well in the ring, but they can't talk. Or guys like Shinsuke Nakamura, who he's not ever going to get pushed to the top of the chain because he doesn't speak English primarily. And that's nothing against Shinsuke. I think he's great. But they didn't even try to come up with a creative way to push him, and him and AJ, that feud was awesome. And then it just fizzled. Like, we all wanted it. And then it just was gone. Well, listen, I could talk for 2 hours about wasted feuds and talent. Okay. So Carl Anderson wrestled for Global Force Wrestling with Gallows as the Bullet Club. Okay. That Impact aired on pay-per-view. Cool. So they did have footage. That's good. Billy Corgan signs people who can cut a promo and have character and personality. Cool, man. You're right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I just feel like that's what sets the NWA apart. And that's one of those things that I didn't consciously realize it when I first started watching, but that was like the difference maker, was that, the things I was familiar with as a WWE fan for so many years, there being people that would perform at a high level in the ring and then would get on the mic and I would have to like cover my ears and like roll my eyes a little bit because it was so like forced and scripted and obviously not authentic. Like NWA, when I started watching, I was like, dude, this is like when I was a kid watching Ric Flair or Arn Anderson or somebody cut a promo. That's what it felt like. And that's what wrestling should be. So yeah, a lot of conversation about Gallows and Anderson. Thanks, man. So damn good at this. Hey, you are too, dude. You are too. I appreciate you coming and hanging out. Let the talent be talented. Amen, WWE front row. That's all I'm trying to say. You summed up this whole session in one sentence because you're so wise. And that's why That's why you're part of the NWA fam, such a valuable part. Yeah, let the talent be talented. If you're not talented enough, I mean, it's like it's like, you know, I can't think of a good, of a good analogy off the top of my head, but it's like, you know, if you're a really good race car driver, but you can't turn left, kind of part of the gig, you know what I mean? Or you could be a drag racer, I guess. So that's a bad analogy, but hey, if you're good in the ring but you can't talk on the mic, go to the MMA. I don't know, unless you're CM Punk, and then you should probably just stick with professional wrestling. But yeah, so that's my rant for tonight and my conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out for half an hour or so. I love seeing the chats going on and giving us a chance to hang out. And I'm fairly sure everyone here probably has already done this, but if maybe you're watching this at a later time, hit subscribe, like this video. Even though you weren't able to join us live, you're allowed. Sorry. But even though you weren't able to join us live, you can still leave your comments below about anything that we were discussing. Let us know your thoughts. Let's keep the conversation going. But to everyone in the chat, the 12 people that are here right now, and everyone who might have popped in and out, thanks for being a part of the first ever Hey It's Will Daily live. So you can tell your grandkids about this one day. You'd be like, I was part of the first one. So yeah, there's that. But I love you guys. I love the NWA fam. These conversations may start out with WWE because that's what has got me going, but it always ends up with my love for the NWA and the NWA fam, because there is no wrestling community on the planet that is like the NWA fam. And you guys can attest to that. The loyalty, the charisma, the dedication and commitment to the promotion and to the product. I've been a wrestling fan my whole life. I've never seen wrestling community this strong. So thank you guys. Gary, he finally joined us. Well, now that Gary's here, I'll tell everyone good night. But yeah, love you guys. We will do this again. Now that I know that this will work and people actually want to come hang out on days where I get too busy, can't make a nice little edited video with the little quick cuts and all that kind of stuff to keep your attention if you have ADD. Maybe I'll just go live and we'll just talk about wrestling for half an hour. So yeah, there should be shirts. My wife wants shirts, so we're gonna design some shirts, maybe some mugs, maybe some phone cases, some stuff, mainly with Gary's face on it, because he's really the face, the baby face of This Is the NWA podcast. But gravy cake, always, man. And I'll end with that. Hashtag gravy cake. Let's make it a thing.